I've decided to speak to you today after an unprecedented period of intimidation, threats, lies, and worse that have been made against the left, against Muslims, against ethnic minorities. We have seen children fearful to go into school wearing a small insignia of the flag of the country of their heritage, scared in case they should be expelled or suspended. We have people frightened to speak out against the horrors of a genocide unfolding in front of us. We see Jews being blamed for the actions of a genocidal state as their identity and Zionism is welded into one unique ethno-nationalist identity. Now, this isn't recent. This has now been going on, as we all know, for years. For years, we have seen politicians targeting people from the left. We have seen minority groups excluded, lied about. We have seen those with power make empty gestures of anti-racism in order to progress their own agendas. We have seen, in particular, Black left-wing MPs targeted. Those people who are the most abused MPs, the most threatened MPs in our society, have been expelled and excluded from the political forum in the areas they should feel safe in, within their own parties. We have seen them humiliated and paraded and enforced into making the most obscene admissions, the most ridiculous apologies. We've seen them bullied by the very people whose responsibility it is to protect them and make sure we have democratic diversity. We have seen long-time political conventions in Parliament overturned in order to protect a genocidal state. It's beyond alarming that after last night's democratic election of George Galloway, we have that picture of our so-called Prime Minister parading, claiming that that is a sign of a lack of democracy, when what we know is the threat to our democracy is deeply within Westminster itself. It's beyond belief that the election of George Galloway is now being used as an excuse, as a pre-course to cracking down on our freedom to protest, those freedoms that were hard-won by our political ancestors, the people who fought against slavery, the people who vote for the vote for everybody, the people who took to the streets, the people who physically put their bodies in the way of power to enable women to vote. It is unbelievable that we now have an executive unified by at least one thing, and that is their scramble to support a genocidal state. We have executives who are fearful to condemn the murder of women and children. We have a Prime Minister and MPs who glorify the genocidal army of the IDF. We have a government who backs the army of Israel, supplying it not only with arms, but allowing it and encouraging it to refuel in their friendly territories, which are under British influence. I need to speak to you like this because this situation is now out of control. It's gone on long enough. We must be prepared to stand up for our values in the same way as our ancestors have fought for our rights. We must be there on the picket lines, on the demonstrations. We must be there to vote. We must be there to support independent voices in Parliament that will better reflect the diverse opinion of the British public. There is never an excuse to support a genocide. There is never an excuse to support the willful starvation of women and children. There is never an excuse to pit one ethnic minority against another. There is never an excuse to lie to the British public. The time has come for us to realise that extremists are now in control of our government. And we have to make sure that we have a voice in how Britain is run. Because if we don't do it, their political shenanigans, their games, which weaponize race, will tear this country apart. Together, we are undefeatable. United, we stand. Solidarity.